Welcome to another episode of Power Core Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Javon Harrington, back to hit you another video, and today we're going to be doing Naruto Yokai Shippuden Part 2, What If Sasuke Uchiha Was a Girl? I do want to say first and foremost, thank you to everyone who supports Power Core Productions and Podcastings. I cannot do it without you. You make the channel grow, and you make the core grow. First, I want to say thanks to the reception that we are getting with the first part in the second half of Naruto Yokai. It was truly amazing to see so many people who are still rocking and still looking forward to this series, so it means a lot to keep going. I am truly thankful for everyone who has been supporting the reboots of a lot of the stories that we've had on the channel recently, with Naruto Yokai, with High School DxD version with Naruto, to the Ray Zero Spider-Man series. I'm truly thankful for everyone who has been supporting the reboots of these what if stories, as they mean a lot personally, as they were what I had when I first started the channel. And to see where we've grown so far, we're almost at 900 subscribers. So like I say, every time we're on that road to 1K and beyond, and I think we're truly going to get to 1K before the end of the year. And the fact that I started the rebranding of this channel in early May of 2021, I believe, around that time, and to see where everything has grown since then has been nothing short of truly astounding. It's been amazing to see where the channel has grown, to see where it's going, to see where it can still go, in my opinion. So that truly means a lot. So thank you to everyone who has supported Power Core Productions and Podcastings. It truly means a lot. So genuinely, thank you. Do stay tuned for everything else that has to come with Power Core Productions. I do hope that alongside with the Naruto Yokai series to get out an extra video of what if one shot potentially. Also, list down below what you want to have for a one shot video. It could be like a simple what if, nothing too complicated. Do something like what if Naruto died at the Valley of the End, or what if Sakura, joined Sasuke and leaving the village, or something like that. Those ideas for what if one shots, they're meant to be special little self-contained stories that you can listen to on the side. They're not multi-complex all the time, although some stories will have a part 1 and some will have a part 2. It's not supposed to go any farther than that. Like, it's not supposed to be a multiple part story. Maybe 1 or 2 parts max, but that's just about it. So, if you like what if one shot, tell me what type of what if one shot stories you want to hear down below, so that I can get those created and you can enjoy those along with the other stories as well. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of this intro. We're going to get into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy Naruto Yokai, What If Sasuke Uchiha Was a Girl, Part 2. Team 7 would make their journey to the Tenchi Bridge. The group of Naruto, Satomi, Sakura, Yamato, and Jiraiya made their way to the designated spot in an attempt to meet with the spy of Orochimaru, as well as believing that this would be the opportunity that would be needed to gain the upper hand in the tide of battle. The group would have a rather smooth travel, not dealing with any of the turmoil that the original group experienced in the timeline, as Team 7 was complete and whole and had relatively good teamwork. Of course, the main concerns came from 2 of their members, that being Naruto and Satomi. Satomi had a lot on her mind, so much that she had been dealing with. A lot happened in the last 2.5 years. A lot that sometimes even she herself couldn't fully comprehend. One night while the group were resting, Naruto would see her sitting alone, looking out into the moon. He would sit beside her and ask what was on her mind, as he could tell what often troubled her. Not feeling as if she needed to be too guarded, She would explain to Naruto everything she had been feeling, remembering how she had almost left the village, almost left everything that she cared about, and how she had even tried to kill him. Of course, this was not lost on Naruto either, as he was completely aware and understood that she would have these type of emotions. However, Satomi would go deeper in her own anguish. She would explain that to an extent, she often felt as if she were unworthy of standing beside someone like Naruto, a man as righteous and as noble as he, noting that she had let her mind be clouded once by Orochimaru and his lies, and that it had nearly cost her everything. Naruto would let her lean her head on his shoulder, as he would assure her that everything were going to be fine, mentioning the promise that he had made to her all those years ago, promising that he would never leave her, and that above all else, he would save her if she needed it. This would inspire Satomi even more, deepening the feelings that she already had for Naruto, knowing now that those feelings were true, and that Naruto was someone that she could rely on, and that even more so, she wanted to be something that he could rely on as well, knowing that Naruto was the type of man who would take everything onto himself, without any regard or concern for himself, knowing that someone like the Akatsuki would be after Naruto. It was more than enough motivation for her to get stronger, because no one was going to take him away, not when there was so much that he still had to offer to the world, and that his star would shine the brightest of all of them. The team would eventually arrive at Tenchi Bridge. Jiraiya would summon Ma and Pa Toad, who would introduce themselves for the first time. Jiraiya would stay at a distance as he would start to gather Sage Jutsu, while Team 7 would go to the bridge. Yamato would put on the same disguise as he had before, appearing to be Sasori in his Hiriko puppet shell. As he would make his way to the bridge, the other members of Team 7 would watch from the shadows, each one waiting with bated breath, not sure what was going to happen next. Though it wouldn't take too long to wonder, as soon a hooded figure would make his way to the bridge. As Kabuto would introduce himself, Team 7 would be surprised to see that he was the spy for the Akatsuki. As Yamato would attempt to pass off as Sasori, everything would be going smoothly. However, things would take an abrupt change, as Kabuto would slash at the puppet, causing it to break away and for Yamato to reveal himself. As he did so, another voice could be heard, a voice that Naruto and Satomi had not heard in a long time. From out of nowhere, Orochimaru would appear on the bridge beside Kabuto, the two revealing that they were completely aware of the trick, and that even still Kabuto had been working as a spy for Orochimaru against the Akatsuki, not the other way around. In doing so, Orochimaru would call out the other ones who would be hiding behind Yamato, and with no other choice, all of Team 7 would appear ready to fight. Orochimaru's eyes would light up in complete excitement, seeing his lovely Satomi, who had finally returned to him after all this time. However, his happiness would quickly be abated, as he could see beside her would be none other than Naruto, the one who threw the wrinkle in his plans all those years ago. Orochimaru had a great disdain for Naruto, because of the influence that he had over Satomi was even stronger than his own, and he made it a personal note to get revenge if the two ever faced each other. However, Naruto was equally as angered in his own right, as he could just barely contain his power within himself, seeing the snake Sannin once again. Yamato would try to keep Naruto under control. However, that would be easier said than done. Even with Satomi's presence, Naruto could still feel his hatred beginning to brew, as Orochimaru would continue to poke and pry at Naruto, making many comments about how he was going to take Satomi for himself, angering the young shinobi, until eventually his eyes would glow red in a look of defiance, as the Three Tails cloak would form around him. Kabuto, sensing the immense power, would try to take the front. However, he would be pushed to the side by Naruto, as Naruto would go lunging towards Orochimaru. Orochimaru effortlessly catching the punch as he threw Naruto to the side. However, what he didn't see was the cloak's tail wrapping around his leg as it slammed him into the forest nearby. As Naruto went rushing towards Orochimaru, the two engaging in a flurry of taijutsu, as well as Naruto trying to land a hit. Satomi would activate her Sharingan and rush with Naruto to attack Orochimaru, while Kabuto would be left to deal with Sakura as well as Yamato, a feat that would be easier said than done, as Sakura proved to be a good match for Kabuto in speed as well as precision, as he was able to note that she too were trained in the art of medical ninjutsu, and was an expert at chakra control. Yamato keeping his distance and working with his wood style to try to bind Kabuto and keep him at bay. However, Kabuto would unseal a few scrolls that he kept on his person. Using the Death Corpse Jutsu, he would command a few lifeless bodies like puppets to fight at his disposal, keeping both Sakura and Yamato at bay, while he went to work in trying to take them down. In the distance, Jiraiya would have now gathered enough energy to go into complete Sage mode, with Ma and Pa towed on both of his shoulders respectively. He would rush towards the battlefield, as his immense chakra could be sensed by all. Naruto and Satomi working together to face off with Orochimaru, much like they had in the Forest of Death, showing how they had grown in strength and in power. Orochimaru especially impressed with Satomi and how far she had come in mastering her Sharingan. However, before he had a chance to launch a counterattack, a great blur of red and green would show, slamming its shoulder into Orochimaru and crashing him into the forest deeper. As Jiraiya appeared in Sage mode, Naruto would begin to calm a bit. However, he would still have a hard time controlling the Nine-Tails chakra. Jiraiya would look to Naruto and tell him to regain himself and to keep his self-control. It would take some time, but Naruto would eventually rein in the excess chakra, as self-control and discipline had been beaten into him for the last 2.5 years of his training. Satomi seeing just how much strain it was putting on Naruto's body, she would walk to Naruto and hold his hand, assuring him that everything would be fine and allowing him to calm down. Jiraiya would tell the two to stay out of the fight, as he was going to take Orochimaru down once and for all. Orochimaru staggering back to his feet to see that his once comrade, now turned enemy, had engaged him with Sage mode. Orochimaru would bite his tongue as he realized that this was not going to be an easy fight. Naruto and Satomi would watch in awe as two of the legendary Sannin would engage in battle with one another. The two of them seeing a truly highly contested skill in combat between two shinobi of high caliber talent. Orochimaru countering Jiraiya and his Sage ninjutsu, and Jiraiya showing the true power of being the Toad Sage. Neither one giving an inch and neither one truly gaining the advantage. The battle moved to epic proportions, as even soon they began to dabble into their summonings. Jiraiya summoned Gamabunta to the battlefield, while Orochimaru would summon Manda, as the toad and the snake would engage in combat once again. Manda, with its long, recoiling snake-like body, would prove to have the advantage over Gamabunta. However, Jiraiya would more than make up for this lack of power with his own and sage ninjutsu, Orochimaru working and trying his best to counter the Toad Sage. The battle was so catastrophic that even Kabuto, in his combat with Sakura and Yamato, all stopped to watch what was taking place, seeing now that the fight had truly gotten out of hand. While Jiraiya would hold the edge to a certain extent, Manda would prove to be a great summoning for Orochimaru, even greater than Gamabunta. This forced a stalemate to a degree, as neither side could hold the advantage over the other. Orochimaru would then summon the Rashomon Wall, while Gamabunta and Jiraiya would use a combination attack, attempting to smash through the three Rashomons in order to get to Orochimaru. Orochimaru's summoning walls would hold up just long enough. However, in the wake of the great explosion, both men would be pushed to greater lengths. The fight would eventually move into a bit of a stalemate and a draw, neither one now gaining the advantage over the other in the fight. While Jiraiya was still content with Sage mode, he was still an imperfect Sage. Ma and Pa Toad were working and trying their hardest to incapacitate Orochimaru. However, every time they destroyed a body, another one would be reformed. However, even with this technique, Orochimaru would still be on the back end, as he could feel himself being drained in the battle more and more. Eventually, using the Kusanagi blade, he would attack Jiraiya when he had his guard down for the briefest of moments. While the attack wouldn't do any lasting harm to Jiraiya, it would be enough to force him to retreat for a moment. However, his Sage Mode durability made it damn near impossible for him to be taken out, as Orochimaru had to refocus his efforts and use brute force against the Toad Sannin. As the two would continue in their battle, Kabuto would then arrive by Orochimaru's side, the two believing that now was the time to retreat. As they would do so, Jiraiya would attempt to stop them. However, Orochimaru and Kabuto would use Manda in the reverse summoning in order to block the countering blow, as the two would begin to retreat back to their lair. As Jiraiya had unsummoned Gamabunta, and Ma and Pa Toad would return to Mount Miyaboku to rest, Jiraiya would then begin to exit out of Sage Mode, as his fatigue would then wash over his body, forcing him to take a knee as he needed to rest and recover. Sakura would arrive to Jiraiya and would begin to administer medical ninjutsu immediately, while Satomi and Naruto would give a report of what had happened. Naruto and Satomi would both be urged to go after Orochimaru. However, Yamato would be against it, believing that even if Orochimaru had been severely weakened, he wasn't entirely sure if the two of them going to face him would be all that wise. However, Satomi would remark that they had to make a push now, knowing that if they didn't get to him any sooner, then this could be their one and only chance and they couldn't afford to let it slide. Knowing the direness of everything that was going on, Yamato would tell them to go ahead, but he would make it very clear for them to stay alive until backup had arrived, and that they were going to take down Orochimaru together by any means necessary. Satomi and Naruto would then rush after Orochimaru and Kabuto, the two now knowing that they had pursuers. Orochimaru believed that his plan had now come to fruition, to divide and conquer. believing that he was more than capable of taking out Naruto if it came down to it, and that they could subdue Satomi easily. No matter how strong she had gotten, there was no way she could be strong enough to do any critical damage. As the four would arrive to Orochimaru's base on the outskirts, Orochimaru and Kabuto would stand on the high ground, as Naruto and Satomi would look up to see them. Orochimaru continuing to taunt at the two, hoping to get under their skin. However, Satomi had questions of her own. She asked Orochimaru if he knew anything about Danzo. Satomi had learnt from Kakashi that back in the day, Orochimaru and Danzo were seen to be rather close, as Orochimaru was once a member of the Foundation before fleeing the village. While nothing could ever be proven, it was believed that Orochimaru had kept contact with Danzo all this time, and that if that were the case, if anyone would know anything incriminating about Danzo, then it would be Orochimaru. Orochimaru would laugh at the thought, knowing how deep the history between he and Danzo were. He would speak vaguely about their connection. However, he would hint that what you were looking for could be as close as the right arm. As the second battle would begin, Naruto and Satomi would rush at Orochimaru, the two of them going all out in their abilities, doing everything that they could to bring down the Snake Sannin. Kabuto would stand back and watch, knowing full well that he had been outclassed by the two shinobi at this point, and he believed that his master could hold his own. However, Orochimaru underestimated just how much damage he had taken from his fight with Jiraiya. As Naruto and Satomi continued to push the advance against Orochimaru, he could feel that he was starting to be worn down repeatedly. His body had not been completely recovered, especially after his battle with the third Hokage, and even more so with a body that would be breaking down sooner rather than later. This fight had only managed but to expedite the process. As Naruto would continue in his stalling with Orochimaru, Satomi would speak to Naruto of a jutsu that she had created. While she didn't like the idea, she felt that it was the only way that they could win, and she would ask Naruto if he could buy her some time. Naruto would look to her and give her the thumbs up, assuring her that he could hold down Orochimaru for as long as she needed him to. With that, Satomi would move away to create distance, storing her chakra to create a great fireball, while Naruto would continue fighting with Orochimaru. Satomi would launch the fireball into the atmosphere as she waited for the clouds to get into formation. She continued to store and build her chakra in the meantime, while Orochimaru would engage in his fight with Naruto, goading him more and more into losing control, and Naruto tried his hardest not to fall for the trick. As he continued to dwell into the power of the Nine Tails, as his influence seeped into him more and more, Naruto would use that anger and rage to try to hold back the Snake Sannin. Kabuto watched in anticipation, wondering what was going on. He knew that Satomi was setting up something, but what he couldn't be entirely sure of. As the sky slowly began to turn dark, as storm clouds formed around the hideout, Orochimaru and Naruto were fighting into the climax of the battle. Naruto dwelling more and more into the Nine Tails chakra, as he slowly felt the Four Tails state creeping upon him. As he tried to resist, he could tell that not dwelling into the power could result in his death. As Satomi would try to get the jutsu ready, She would look to tell Naruto to get out of the way. Naruto, knowing that whatever jutsu she were going to use, it would be one that would destroy the surrounding area. Naruto knew that if he moved now, Orochimaru would simply escape whatever the attack was. Rather than leaving, Naruto would grab Orochimaru, putting him into the full Nelson, as he started to give himself into the Nine Tails, as the Four Tails state slowly began to succumb him. He would yell for Satomi to do whatever she was going to do. Satomi, however, would refuse, telling Naruto that if he didn't get out of the way, this could result in his death as well. However, Naruto would tell her to have faith, and he would tell her that he would be just fine. Satomi was not sure what to do at this moment. If she launched the attack, if it wasn't angled just right, Naruto could easily be vaporized along with Orochimaru. However, she had remembered the promise that he had made, and she remembered hers to him. She had to have faith that things would work out, and trust in Naruto. Orochimaru tried to fight out of Naruto's grasp, but now Naruto had given into the four-tailed state. Holding on to what little control he had, he kept Orochimaru in place. Orochimaru attempted to exit his body, but he couldn't. Naruto grabbing his mouth and holding it closed so that he couldn't leave. Orochimaru would struggle, would curse, would kick, stab, and scream. However, Naruto would continue to hold firm, as they both thrashed and moved around on the ground. Satomi would look down to Orochimaru. She would remember all of the pain that he had caused, all of his suffering. All of it was going to be brought to an end. As she raised her hand into the sky, Orochimaru's eyes would lighten in absolute terror, as what he saw crashing down from the heavens themselves was the eternal dragon of light, the one who cast judgment upon the wicked, the jutsu of Satomi Uchiha, the final cleansing, the Kirin. As the dragon of lightning crashed down into the surrounding area, Naruto, along with Orochimaru, were enveloped in the great flash. Neither Satomi nor Kabuto could see what happened, as a large crater had been formed, as the rain began to fall all around them in the destruction. As the smoke would begin to clear and the dust would begin to settle, both would look down into the center of the crater, only to see that one body remained lying motionlessly on the ground. That body was the body of Naruto Uzumaki. Satomi would rush down the crater to Naruto's side, and there she could see what remained of Orochimaru. Nothing but smoke and ash. The Kirin was a jutsu of judgment, a jutsu used to cast divine punishment against the wicked. Those who were innocent and pure of heart were said to be ones who could survive the Kirin. Naruto being alive was proof of that jutsu's capabilities, as it was what Satomi believed in her heart above all else. Kabuto would be absolutely horrified to see that his master had been defeated. However, something else more pressing was approaching. As Kabuto could sense other entities arriving, he would rush to a private area to hide away from what was to come. As Satomi would reach down for Naruto, lifting his head and checking his body to see if he were alright, she could feel the faintest of heartbeats. As she held Naruto close, as he lay there unconscious. She kissed his forehead, smiling as her tears were hidden in the rain. However, this reunion would be short-lived, as surrounding the crater would be men in black cloaks with Anbu masks. Satomi would recognize them as Anbu from the Leaf and would ask for their assistance, but none would be given. One who would step forward, taking the role of leader, would take out a large scroll and begin to draw in it with his ink. The ink-like drawings would then come to life as they launched their attack on Satomi. Satomi would slash away at the ink-like drawings, looking up and asking what was happening and why they were attacking fellow Konoha shinobi. However, the Anbu would remain silent, as they would all begin to descend upon Satomi. Satomi would move away from Naruto to see what their true goals were, and as she feared, they were coming after her, ignoring Naruto and leaving him there. Satomi would begin to fight off the Anbu as best she could, but with her chakra almost completely drained, there wasn't much that she could do. She would take a few hits, and even take a few stabs, as she would move through the forest in the rain, trying to evade their attacks. As a single crow would fly above them, Satomi would continue to try to evade her pursuers, although eventually she would have to have no choice. She would move using the last bit of her chakra and would kill 2 of the Anbu, before 2 more would launch their own assaults, knocking down one of the trees that she had jumped on as she crashed into the ground in the forest below. As the Anbu surrounded her, their captain looking to go for the kill, as an ink-like tiger would be drawn, its fangs ready to bite down on her neck and silence her once and for all. A flock of crows would appear and destroy the tiger. From the crows, the one known as Itachi Uchiha would now be shown, as he would cast his own genjutsu to stun a few of the Anbu, as well as using a fireball jutsu to blast away his enemies. He would create a smokescreen before lifting up Satomi on his shoulders, carrying her away into the darkness of the storm. Meanwhile, Naruto, almost completely exhausted and tired, his body feeling almost numb and hard of moving, would slowly awaken as Jiraiya would arrive, along with Sakura and Yamato. They would rush to Naruto immediately and ask where Satomi was, and where Orochimaru was. However, Naruto would be hard to speak. As they continued to discuss the matters at hand, the young Anbu would arrive along with his guards, carrying the dead bodies of his fallen comrades. Jiraiya and Yamato would be on guard, but they recognized that they were Anbu from the Leaf. The leader would remove his mask, revealing himself to be a young boy with short dark hair. He would introduce himself as Sai of Konoha. As Naruto was slowly coming to his consciousness, he would ask where Satomi had gone and what had happened. Sai would then explain to them that as his team had arrived, they had seen that Satomi was about to kill Naruto. They had tried to stop her, but in doing so, she had managed to kill 2 of their comrades, before leaving with the one known as Itachi Uchiha of the Akatsuki. The others couldn't believe what they were hearing, and Naruto couldn't believe it as well. Satomi had gone rogue and was now on the run from the village. This concludes What If Saskue Uchiha Was a Girl? Naruto Yokai Shippuden Part 2. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions in podcastings. Stay tuned for more videos as to come, as well as more What If one-shots and many more other stories that we have for the channel as we are on the road to 1K and beyond. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions in Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.